Yeah, so my guest, some of you saw the poster. So my guest today, normally when I get a guest, I try and go all over the internet and I go on all the social media pages to find out a bit about my guest. But I think my guest tonight was very, very difficult because I could find absolutely nothing. So I am going to be just as surprised as you for all the stories, because I thought I might be able to give you some background, but I'm going to allow my guest, who's Dawie. Dawie is, of course, entrepreneur by heart. Dawie is the owner of Rembrandt Malls, a family business. The only thing I could find out about Dawie is that he's an avid racer. I just saw cars. So I want to hear a bit about that hobby as well. So, Dawie, welcome. Thank you so much for your time. I know entrepreneurs and business owners are very, very busy. So, yeah, let's have our conversation.
Thank you very much,
Cool, man.
Miles.
Yeah, so of course we have this lab for entrepreneurs to learn from other entrepreneurs. And I think the first reason why I admire you is, normally I hate going to a mall with my wife, but you decided we'll bring the mall to my wife. So you don't have to go stand in queues. But I think maybe just from the beginning, I mean, childhood, and when did this entrepreneurial journey start? When did that bug bite you? I always have this thing with one of my friends that has been in business with all his life with his father, and my father wasn't an entrepreneur, but his father was, and you could see that when you grow up in a business family, you tend to be ahead of the pack with someone just starting up. So I just wanted to, just find out a bit about Dawie, his story, and then, lessons learned.
Miles, thank you for the opportunity. And I think we were talking before we started, and I think it's a great platform that you have here, and I think that it's the correct thing in these days, and you can never learn enough. So thank you for the opportunity of doing so. But I must say, when you said you were searching the net and you couldn't find much on me, I thought that's great, because I do come from nothing, and we all come from nothing.
Yeah.
So that was nice to see that there's nothing that it shows. The family that I come from, I'm one of 7 kids. And we grew up in the northern Transvaal, and we traveled a lot, or we moved a lot around, so I was in a lot of schools. And the entrepreneurial thing, I do not know where it came from, but I remember in school we went for aptitude test. I do not know if they still do it today, aptitude tests. Yeah. And the only thing that came back from there was to say that I should be a salesman. Okay. Now, anybody that knows what a salesman is will know that's not the most flamboyant or whatever thing that there is, but it's a way to earn a living. Anyway, my father, late father then, who is what do you call it, an ambachtsman, tradesman.
Yeah.
Said to me those days that I can do whatever I like once I've got my trade.
Okay.
So he said, because you need something to fall back on. And that's what I then did. I started working, those days it was Atlas, today it's Denel. Okay. And I did my apprenticeship there, and I got my red stamp. I do not know if they even have red stamps today. But I got my red stamp, and then after that I started trying my hand at sales, which was first to go. I remember selling Voorwerk, I think it was Voorwerk, vacuum cleaners.
Okay.
And I used to walk from door to door in Pretoria trying to sell it at night. And I had 2 jobs, because in the day I had a normal job, and tonight I had to go sell vacuum cleaners, and I did a show there. And while I was doing it, there was a guy actually that came to me the one night that I got to his house. He said to me, why am I doing this? I said, I'm trying to make a living. Because to try to make the ends meet, as they say. And he says, but why don't you come work for me? And he was referring to his company being Old Mutual. Okay, so I thought that was great, because why can I not work for somebody like that? And that's how I actually got into the insurance business. And that was a good lesson that I learned over there, because insurance is really is a hard sell, especially life insurances, where you sell a dream in 20 or 30 years time, or even longer sometimes, and it's something that you actually don't need. So that gave me a lot of heartache to start, because I didn't make it, I must admit. I was there for 9 months, and I decided that I should earn a little bit more, because I can't.
Yeah.
No, I really cannot make the ends meet. And I actually went to another company those days. It was called Legal and General Volkskas, that we went to work to sell insurances. And the only reason why I did that, because Old Mutual had a system where they actually paid the people as and when you pay your policy, you get your commission on it. And they had a different system with Sanlam as well as Legal and General Volkskas. And the fortunate thing for me there was that I got somebody that really pushed us, and if I say us, the workforce that was there. The first thing that he asked me when I got there, I remember driving a 1200 Datsun Bakkie, and he says, listen, but you have to have a car. I said, but I do not have the money to have a car. He says, you have to have money because you have to have lots of expenses, because then you'll work harder to pay the expenses, which I was very happy to do that, because and if you ask Alison, my wife, today, she will tell you also that I'm not scared of debt, and that's landed me in trouble many times before. And that's how I actually then started. And then I really, really, really had to work hard to actually keep everything afloat. So, and that also was my first, I won't say my bankruptcy, but it was my first dip that I took, because I had everything that I wanted to, and then I thought I can conquer the world.
Sorry, Dawie, how old are you in this journey?
Now I'm 24,
Wow.
25.
Okay.
Bankrupt
at 24, I mean,
yeah.
that's an achievement.
A first bankruptcy, eh? You must, So it's only your first.
All right, cool.
You only start learning when you first lose everything. That's when you really start learning. And you will lose again.
Yeah.
So the one thing is, and I was reading it the other day, that they said that life is like a boxing ring. It says it doesn't count if you fall down. You're not getting counted out if you fall down. You're only getting counted out if you don't get up again. So it's not how many times you get fallen down, or you fell down, or fall down, or whatever. It's how many times you get up again. So that's the only thing that there is. So, but let's jump a couple of years, because otherwise you guys are still going to be here till tomorrow morning. And then later on, a couple of years later, and Alison, I met Alison a couple of years later, and she can vouch for this, to say that I was still paying off 25 Rand and 50 Rand to all the banks that I owed money. I never went bankrupt, but I made deals with all the debtors that I had, and I kept on paying them diligently. That's the way that I could. But it was a very small amount, and Alison didn't like that, so she went and paid them all off. Then I started working with cars. So the cars came a little bit later. My late father was a mechanic. So the cars, we 5 brothers and 2 sisters, and we all have got petrol in our blood. So we all are interested in cars. Then I started working with cars in the 90s. For a year and a half, I started in cars, in a scrapyard business with scrap cars. And then I started in 92 my own business.
Okay.
So 92 to 2002, we worked very hard. Alison and myself used to work at night rebuilding cars. So we used to buy body shells from the factory those days, and we used to buy a wrecked car, and then transfer everything that's in the wrecked car into the new car, or the body, and then sold it again. So those days, and they still do it today, it's just there's a lot of other things that came along with it, which is a couple of other people that made it very difficult for everybody else. But that's what we did for 10 years.
Wow. So I'm picturing Alison as well in a mechanic suit and grease all over the face in the evening.
I'll tell you the story. We were, I remember one night, Alison was pregnant with, I think with JD. JD, yeah, there she sits. And now we're sitting, now what we've got in the garage, we've got a double garage.
Yeah.
So on the one side of the double garage, we've got the new body shell that came in from Mercedes-Benz, and it's standing there on stands.
Yeah.
And this side, we've got the rolled or the wreck that
Yeah.
we're now transferring stuff.
Wow.
So now Alison has to, unfortunately, you have to strip everything in the car to get to the bottom of it, because that's how you built. And I remember that there's on the exhaust, we had the exhaust out, everything, and above the exhaust, there's like a plate that's like a temperature controlled or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like a screen that's between the body and the exhaust. And because of it being a new body, it's very difficult to start to thread the first screw. And Alison, while she was being pregnant, she's lying with her legs up, holding it with her legs, trying to.
Oh
fit
my
it
gosh!
So, but those are things that we went through, and that's what we did after hours. Because in the day we still worked as well. Alison used to be a teacher, and I used to do the car business, and at night we did it for extra things. So, and 10 years later, we decided to change the lifestyle a bit, because the lifestyle up Gauteng is much faster and much more under pressure than what we are over here. And because I like it when I hear the word the village guy, because the village is like relaxed, and this is how we talk, and this is what we want to see, and how we want to do things. And I remember 3 things that when we decided to move from Gauteng, there were 3 things that were important in our lives that we wanted to do. The first thing that there was supposed to be, or when we started looking at a place, because the kids were small, is there had to be a good school for the children to be in a good school. The second thing, which should have been actually the first thing, was there had to be a church for us to go to. And the third thing was that we wanted to be close to an airport, so that we can still commute, because the business was still up there, and we wanted to commute. So that's how we ended up. We first went to Franschhoek, and then we started there. We had a couple of options that we looked at, but then we thought Franschhoek has got a nice ring to it. So we came down here, and we spent about a week looking at places and to see where we were going to go to school. And that's how I ended up buying the farm that we still have today, or a piece of the farm that we still have today. And then we started properties. We've actually started properties already in '93. We bought the first, we call it a mini factory, which is the space of 200 square meters. Now, 200 square meters is not big, and it's still in the family today. So that's the beginnings that we had, was a small little factory that's still lettable today. And property is something that's very solid, but it takes a long time. You have to have something else in the meantime, keeping you afloat to get the property to work. So fortunately, we had 10 years working with other things, and the properties came along. So when we moved down to Paarl, we had other properties already. So that's how we actually could come up here. And then the story of the Rembrandt, eh?
Yeah, of course. I mean, you of course drive past Rembrandt Mall every day, and then you think, okay, but for me, I want to understand what makes you want to build a mall. Like, I mean, what goes through your mind to say, tell your wife, you wake up in the morning, honey, I want to build a mall.
If you know Alison, she will tell you straight away, don't build a mall.
Okay.
But that's because we never knew what a mall was, what it entailed, and how much work it actually is. Because before the time we had like the 200 square meter unit, you'd get a tenant in there, and the day that you hand over the keys to the tenant is the last day that you worry about him. Because from that day on, he has to look after himself.
Great.
So the first building that we built in Paarl when we landed here is the Tiger Wheel entire on the corner of Lady
Oh,
Grey and,
okay.
and Jan van Riebeeck,
Yeah.
which we built and we got the tenants in, and I mean that building still today is running very nicely. So when we bought the mall, we bought actually only the factory. And we spent about 2 years not knowing what to do with it.
Okay.
But the only thing that we knew was that when we bought it, that there's a lot of space. So in space you can do something with. And I had lots of people that come through there and tell me that's what we have to do, a biscuit mill, and we have to do this and that, and lots of things. And then one day the one guy said to me, why don't you do a shopping center? And I said, I've never thought about a shopping center because I don't know shopping center. Anyway, spent another 2 or 3 years getting the zonings right, getting buildings right, doing everything to get it to work. And I remember that day that we opened the Rembrandt. I thought, thank you very much. Now I can go home again and sit and watch this thing go.
Yeah.
Yeah, big mistake. Eh? Big mistake. That was one of the times that we actually were really, it was really tough. The first 2 years of this Rembrandt was really tough. We had the Pick and Pay that was in there, which was a very small store compared to the size that we've got today there. So there was a couple of things that we did wrong because not knowing retail. Retail is very different to any other thing. So, and today there are lots of retail experts, and I listen to them still today, that tell me what and what I should and should not do. But we all know that after we built it 2 years later, we actually demolished the whole entrance again. And we had to change the parking layouts, the in and out, the flows and everything. And it's only now, which is now 6 years later, that it's actually starting to actually stand on its own feet. Earlier days, it could never even sustain itself. So it's only now that it's actually starting to get there, and we're very lucky and we're very blessed that we still have knees left, because that's spending time on your knees, trying to get it right. So we're very fortunate that today there's still a lot to happen. There's still a lot to do. There's still, and we see it all the time with all shopping centers, that it's a constant evolution of things that you have to do to keep the people. But I must also say, in amongst everything, we were very fortunate, because where do you find 5 hectares of open space in the middle of a CBD in an established town that's 300 years old or however old it is, that you can do something with? It's just unheard of. So I think the location that we are in, and that's where you sit, we brought the mall closer to the housewife, is really what's the success of it today. Because we actually right in the community. It is a community center, and we're right inside the community. So most of the other malls actually are forced outside the towns because of the property size that they have to acquire. So Rembrandt gave us a very nice footing to start. So we're very blessed that it actually panned out much better than what we thought it would. And we've got the village to thank for that too.
Of course. So you touched on it. So one of the questions I have is, you said that for the first few years, of course, it's difficult. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, of course, it goes in your mind when you say, must I carry on with this? Do I give up? I mean, what keeps you going, even though you're not making money? For example, entrepreneurs don't make money for the first 3 years, for example. But it's easy for you to say, let's just scan this thing. I'm done with getting lease in and lease out, and big retailer, small retailer. What keeps you going?
We touched on it earlier, and we said that the one thing that any entrepreneur has is persistency. So, and that's the only thing that you have to actually make it in life. We never know when we're going to conquer. but we have to keep on at it all the time. I remember, and it's recently, a couple of years ago, I used to go to Food Lovers because I wanted to get Food Lovers there. And Mike Coppin, one of the brothers that own it, I used to phone him, and then he says, listen, you're actually very persistent. And I had him there a couple of times, and he would just never budge because he said, listen, it's not the place for him. So we had him there a lot of times. And that's the one thing about an entrepreneur and anybody that starts a business today, is that you should never stop. Because you never know when you're going to crest it, and then you're going to get on the other side. So persistency is easy to say, but it's not easy to do, because sometimes it's other matters around it that actually influence you to stop. Like, for instance, material things, money, that you run out of money or anything like that. So a business plan is always a good thing to have, but the problem is with an entrepreneur is that a business plan comes afterwards. After he started already. He normally starts it, and then later on thinks, what did he got himself into? So never stop. You're not going to get counted out if you fall down. You're going to get counted up if you don't get up again. So those are the things that we have to do. But it's, as I say, it's easier said than done. It's easy for me to speak about it now, but I remember. And the story that went in, we spoke about the first time that I lost everything, or more than what I had, let's rather say that, because I still had to pay in. I didn't even have enough to lose what I had. The second time that it happened was when the interest rates were shot up. It was 96, 97. We did the first property deal that we did, a development, which was a garage, a filling station that we did, and the interest rates just skyrocketed. It just went through the roof, and we couldn't pay everything. So I remember those days we had to go cash in all our policies and everything that we had, and still today we don't even have policies because we've never had money again to buy policies, because those days I was selling them. I would sell it to myself and get commission on it. So, but nowadays it's not that easy anymore. It's not easy. So today we don't have. We have policies, I must admit. There are some, but it's not a big portion in our lives. But as I say, in my life, there are big three times that we were really down and out in 3 or 4 decades that it happened. So hopefully the next one won't be as bad as what the previous one is. But I know there will be another one, because that's the only thing that we guaranteed, that we're going to be put through circumstances and through, not troubles, but through situations that we need to get through. So the one thing that's going to happen is all the time. Who knew that we were going to be ever in a pandemic? Nobody ever thought about it. Yet 1 year down the line, we're still talking to each other, can still smile to each other. We're starting to get hope again. We're doing things again. We're taking up offices. We're doing things again. So there's always life. Always life.
So it looks like you're preparing the family already, so if it happens, there won't be a surprise when you come home and say, guys, we lost everything. Just, oh, Dad, again.
If you lose everything, that's still fine, but if you lose more than what you have, that's an issue.
Tell me something as well. So you say you a born salesperson, so I struggle I'm very bad with sales, and I think there are quite a few people that don't enjoy doing it. So how do you manage the rejection? So, for example, you doing the cold face, knocking on a door, hi, do you want a vacuum? This one sucks better than the other one. I don't know what your payoff line was, but I mean, people that close the door in your face all the time. I mean, how do you just, like, some people can just get into the car and go to the next door and knock, and other people will say, I'm done with this, I'm not going to do it anymore. So how do you handle that rejection? And what lessons in your journey it happened where you thought, okay, this is not for me?
The first one that I went to was the one when I started with Old Mutual. I remember going through a course, I can't remember how, it was 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, I can't remember. They put you through a course of teaching you what the policies and how to work out policies and do this and lots of things and how to do things. remember those days I was like 22 or 23 years old. And I remember coming into the office the one day, the first day that we actually started, and now we're a couple of young recruits that started, and we each have a desk, a little cubicle that you sit in, and here I sit. So what do you do? So eventually I got up and I went to the manager and I said to him, okay, but so where am I going to sell policies now? I thought the clients will be queuing to get policies. So he gave me a telephone book. Because if you need more than that, you really have a problem, understand?
Wow.
So I do not know who has ever sat with a telephone book of Pretoria. Those days it was quite a thick one. And to have to start there. That's reality that kicks in. So that's long before the rejection. That's reality. So I think reality puts you through rejection at the end of the day, because you don't want to come back to reality. And that's what we need to learn today, is that we need to see what drives us. Because the moment you can find out what drives you, you'll go to great lengths to actually not be able to get there again with that actually the driver that's behind you. And that's why I'm saying rejection is bad. Nobody wants rejection. But if you think about it, it's a normal way of life. If you think about, and sorry that I have to go back to the Bible, and we know that God sent his son, and what was the only thing that he got? Rejection. That was the only thing that he got. They actually crucified him at the end of the day. So who am I to say that rejection is going to get me under? There's no way. It just does not exist. You have to go on again. It's just, it really, if you think about it, it actually is nothing. But yet people do stumble over it. I remember my mother always saying that, the Bible says that, sy sê, moenie bekommerd wees. Hy sê, weer die een wat struikel oor die struikelblok. In other words, it's not the problem, the stumbling block is not the problem. It's the one that actually stumbles over it. And if I stumble over rejection, what am I doing?
Yeah.
I'm stumbling over the stumbling block. And he says, don't worry about the stumbling block.
Yeah.
You that stumble is the one that has the problem. So that's what you have to do, understand? So it depends on where you come from. And sorry to say, lots of people actually has it too easy today. And that's why that stumbling block is too big for them.
Yeah. Dawie, we were sitting at the braai, and I'd give you a high five for those pearls of wisdom, because wow, that's so okay, then I just wanted to as well, what is your pinch myself moment in your entrepreneur journey? What's the one that said, wow, Dawie, this is really happening? What is that moment? Except getting married, of course. But
Yeah.
You have to say that. You put that.
No.
And the birth of the kids.
I must say, we've been fortunate that we went on holiday 3 times last year. Understand?
Yeah.
That's a thing it's not unheard of in my family. You go speak to them. My brother's just older than what I am, and when he drives down from Gauteng or from Northern Transvaal to here, he takes 2 days to get here. Now, you go ask my family, we rush there and we rush back.
Yeah.
That's the way that we are.
Yeah.
Because there's so many things to do. And last year we were fortunate to go on holiday for 3 times.
Wow.
Even though it was only a long weekend or something like that. And we spent time around the West Coast and the East Coast and in South Africa. It was beautiful. And spending it with your family, those ones that actually walk this way with you, because that's all it is. We've only got a time here. Those things are precious to us. It's not the money. The money makes it that you can do it.
Yeah.
But that's not the pinch moment. Definitely not. It's
Okay.
starting to accept things the way that they are.
Yeah.
Because we forever want to change it. And once we can, because peace is what we all want. And you don't need peace with money or anything like that. Peace, but yet we chase a lot.
Yeah.
But peace is actually something that we can get in ourselves very easily
Yeah.
if you decide to do so.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool, Ben. Yeah, so of course we know that you are avid sports racer. I want to hear a bit about that, but also someone that is a business person, entrepreneur that's very busy. The balance, of course, you're lucky you have a family business, so everybody's involved. So you have a business meeting, but having lunch at the supper table, which is good. But I mean,
we've got a safe word though, eh? Home.
oh yeah, okay.
So if they start getting too much at home, we
Yeah.
just call home, and everybody has to switch back to normal life
Oh
again.
wow, okay. Yeah, just tell us a bit about the racing. I see you always with the helmet. That's the only information on social media about you is you, you with the helmet and you with in your car. So just tell me a bit about that. Of course, you come from the mechanic life.
Mechanical.
Yeah.
We all 5 brothers of us. We've lost one also in a car accident, but we all racers. So we all boy racers. That's what we are. So none of us are professionals, but we like playing with cars. So that's my golf day. I don't play golf, and I sometimes go fish if I can.
Yeah.
But that's my golf day. So we try and do that. And yeah, we're racing this afternoon. I said to the guys that I've got something on this tonight, and he says on race weekend.
Oh wow.
So he says, why am I coming to a meeting or something like a thing on a race weekend? Because tonight you're running around getting parts ready. You don't want to do everything to get your car tomorrow. We're racing because we've got a race weekend this weekend again. So we're inside the middle of it. So we're fortunate to be able to race. Last year was very tough on all the sports. You know, nobody could even go play golf. So fortunately, we are racing. We can go race again without spectators. So that's what we do. Yeah.
So what are we racing? I mean, is it go-karts, is it cars? And what are we racing?
Yeah, it's saloons. We call it saloons. And this year this weekend we're racing a Polar Super Cup.
Okay.
So it's a formula that from Volkswagen that runs. It's with the GTCs, the global touring cars.
Okay.
That we're running over the. It's like a second tier of the GTCs that we're running, and I also have a Lotus that I do hill climbs with, and also on the track. So go-karts we tried a while ago, but Alison was much faster than we are because she was always lighter, I would like to say.
Yeah.
And that's why she won. It was not because of talent, it was because of So I gave that up because it's not nice to get beaten by your wife in your sport that you think that you're good at.
Tell me, Dawie, so of course you had business before the big boom of social media and Facebook and marketing. What's your view on business with social media? Just give me a bit of your perception.
Yeah, things has changed tremendously. I remember when I started in the car business, I had a car phone. In those days, there were 4,000 car phones in South Africa. And it was a Siemens C20, and later on there was a C30. And it was like a briefcase that you had to carry around with you. So you'd never actually take it out of the car unless you're going to go out for a long time. It actually stayed in the car. So and that way we could do a little bit more business than the average person because you could phone while you were driving. Otherwise you had to get back to your office, look at all your messages, and then you can only start phoning back. But nowadays, I mean, just think on yourself. You walk, wherever you walk, you can do business, you can talk to the world, there's nothing that you can't do. So it's such an advantage that you guys have today, and I'm saying you guys because that's what you must capitalize on, what you are capitalizing on with this platform that you have. It's great to do that. You have got so much more time to do the things that you want to do because the platforms are there. And anybody that thinks they're going to survive without it, they are dead in the water because you know you cannot survive without it. And the people that's taken the car business, we buy cars and all those things, those are the guys that actually make the most of it. So because of the social media and the advertising and everything that you are doing, that's how you grow. No, you can't go without it.
So give me the average day of Dawie in the morning? I mean, when you wake up, what
Now,
what
why is
happens?
my wife laughing at me?
Just
I am spoiled. I
okay.
must admit, I
Okay.
am spoiled.
You have to admit it here, because in the car alone, might be in trouble.
One of the things that, and Alison and myself have been together for just like 30 years now, almost,
Wow.
is that I do not know where it came from. And I'm sure it came from Alison, because I would never ask for things like that. But I got breakfast in bed, and I still get it.
Wow, nice.
So when I wake up in the morning, the dog's on the bed, everything is on the bed, and I get with a cup of coffee and my breakfast. That's how I get woken up in the morning. And then I'll come down to the mall and have a walk around and see what goes on. And then lunchtime I'm back again, because I get
is
lunch
ready.
again.
Die klokkie het gelei.
Klok het
pauze.
gelei. En vanmiddag, in the afternoon, I have to give the geese their food, and I feed the fish, and I run the dogs, and so nowadays I'm not that busy anymore. In the morning I would plan to do everything, but I must say it's very different for Alison. Alison works 24/7.
Wow.
She works day and night, and she runs everything. I do not answer mails, or I don't even read mails. Alison does all of that. You know that.
Why is that? Why? I mean, why no mails? I'm just interested. Why not?
I'm not. Once I spoke to a lawyer friend of myself, and he says, we were talking about things, and he says, one of his clients says to him, he says, if you want to talk to me, pick up the phone and speak to me. If you want to fight to me, here's my lawyer's address. You email him.
Yeah.
And that's it. And that's, unfortunately, you, and I'm talking about your generation today, are very different. You can send voice notes and do messages and lots of things. And I'm not there. I'd like to speak to somebody. I'll pick up the phone if I want to talk to you, and that's how I want to do it. So even if you send me a mail, Alison will read it for me.
Wow. Really spoiled.
Very spoiled.
So
Very spoiled.
there's no family WhatsApp group, and everybody's talking, and Dad's just silent.
I'm silent.
Okay.
On the groups, I am silent. You'll know. I'll check. I like to see what goes on. So I will check Facebook, and I want to see what goes on. But I'm not going to comment, because I do not know how to do it, and I won't do it anyway. So I'm not asked for my opinion, so I won't give it. Understand?
So if an entrepreneur had to ask you, what are the 5 biggest lessons you've learned as an entrepreneur? What would those 5 biggest lessons be? And 5 lessons, advice type of.
The very first one that I will say is today that there's nothing in life that you can do alone. So you need, first of all, you need God for guidance. And He's the one that teaches us all these things. We only second hand in everything that we do or say, because we've heard it before. And if we just want to realize it, it actually comes out of the big book. That's the first thing. The second thing that you have to have, and that's a good wife, because Alison, if you don't have an Alison, you've got a disadvantage.
Yeah.
So you need somebody that can pull everything together and make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed with the paperwork, because paperwork is very important, and Alison helps us with that. And then thirdly, I'd say you should never give up. Fourthly, you have to, it's in no particular order, is that you have to have a dream. You need to know not where you're coming from, but where you want to go to. Because we were talking about it earlier, to say that sometimes where we come from is where we're actually heading. But we should never look back, because we only have today. We don't even know if we have tomorrow. And what happened yesterday, we can't do anything with. So if we think about it, is what is the dream that you have, and how you want to achieve the peace that you want within the dream. And if I say on the fifth one, I have to come back to say that you have to have luck. But we all know what luck is. Luck is what you have to go through to get lucky. In other words, you have to be persistent in what you do. So, and then you will, it's like Nas Buddha was saying, you know, when you put the ball over the posts, he says, the more I practice, the luckier I get.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. You have to practice a lot in life. But it starts with you and with nobody else. Because if you go back to the Bible again, he says that they are the gifts of the Spirit, which is love and peace and tranquility. And the very last one he mentions, he says that's self-beheersing, self-control. And people always say that they don't have that. But nobody get given it. You have to work to get it. So nothing that we have today, we got. You have to work for it. So even your self-control, you have to work with. Sometimes I say, ek het nie geduld nie, of ek het nie. Nobody got it.
Yeah.
You have to work at it.
Yeah.
So the more you work at it, the more you'll get it. And it's being open. You have to give to receive. So, being humble.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Dawie, what's the big dream? You said one of your 5 aspects is you have to have dreams. I mean, you have them all. You have wine as well. You're following your passion with the racing. What's the big dream? I mean,
Yeah, the dream is for the next generation for me. The next generation, our next generation are our children. And that's a very fine line, because you want to see your children where I am now. I want to see them succeeding. So I am hard on them. You will ask them, they will tell you that I am hard on them, because I want to see them doing things for them to be able to survive. Excuse me. Because tomorrow I'm not going to be here, and then they'll have to fend for themselves. So the dream is to see them succeeding, and that's more of a challenge than if you want to succeed yourself. Because now to get somebody else to do that is very different. And I found that out when I was in sales. I could go and sell something, but to expect somebody else to go do the same it's much harder.
yeah.
So it's transferring what you have to the next generation. I think that is a dream for me at the moment, is to how do I transfer that which I have onto them.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. And in racing, what's the big dream in racing?
I want to race till, how does it say, till the end. The guy was saying, I was seeing the other day that the oldest guy that was running the Le Mans this year was 68 years old, still running Le Mans 24 hours racing all the time. Guys, so that's playing golf. So be sharp, be at the edge, and be at the end. And I've seen guys in their 80s that still race. So yeah, I want to go race. That's what I want to do. That's my hobby that I want to do.
And lastly, even though you're not on social media, if you could invent an app tomorrow to make your life a bit easier, except a robotic Allison or somebody, but
A clone.
if you could invent an app to make your life easier, what would the app be?
Yo, you're putting me on the spot there, because I'm not an app person yet.
What should be the next big
Thing.
tech app or tech?
Now, I think we all owe it to the planet that we need to think green, that we need to start doing things in a different way, making sure that we preserve what we have, because what we have in this day is huge. Understand? I don't think we actually appreciate the vastness of what we actually have on this earth, and to try and preserve that all have to do our bit.
Say, thank you so much for your story. I actually wanted to say I think we're done with the business lab because the lessons we learned tonight was next level. Or we can have you here every week because I mean the pearls of wisdom, it was just like value bombs left, right, and center. And it feels like you do interviews often. It's like you're speaking. Are you a public speaker?
Not at all.
Yeah, it's like it comes so natural. But thank you so much. But it just shows what experience is, that the lessons are true. So guys, thank you so much for joining. I think there was a lot of value I've got from your story. And yeah, if you have Dawie, if you have any questions for Dawie afterwards, I mean, I'm sure he's going to hang around for the next 10 minutes. Of course, he wants his race weekend to commence after this. Go pack his bag.
Don't send me mails. I'm not going to answer.
Yeah, call him. If you need him, call him. So,
That's it.
But Dawie, on behalf of the Village Guy and Workshop, thank you so much for your time. I mean, I really enjoyed it. Yeah, any last words from you?
No, thank you for the opportunity of being here. And I think that we can never share, as you say, enough wisdom with each other. The last question that we had is what is our purpose? And the purpose is actually to try for everybody to learn these wisdoms. And wisdom is something that something cannot take away. We had a funeral about a week ago, and it was the saying was that if somebody dies, there's a hole that cannot heal, but there's also a love that came that nobody can steal. And that's what we've done tonight. Is there's some love, there's something that we got in that nobody can ever steal from you again. And that's what we should chase after. Those things that will be with us forever. And that's, hy sê, die groot boek sê ook vir ons, hy sê, jy moet soek vir jou wysheid wat die skatte, wat die motte verroes nie kan vergaan nie, verteer nie. Which is, those are the things that's the only things that he talks about, is the wisdom that you and I should get and gather. And that's how we get it tonight.
Dawie,
Dankie.
thank you so much. Thank you, guys.